I never felt so inspired after reading a book. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so I wanted to do a quick video just about books that I have read, things that I would recommend you reading as well, and then also a little bit about some entertainment that I have been watching that I want to highly recommend. So I am actually just coming from a screening of Blitz. I think I'm going to write an article about it, so I will link that below. If this video comes out before I write the article, then I'll just post it on the community tab if you guys want to check it out. But yeah, that was like, it was a nice little treat. Apple TV did a little private screening, so that was fun. But I want to recommend some books. One of them, child, the TBR list that I gave y'all earlier this year is, I done skewed away. So let's just jump into it now. This was the first book that was on my TBR list, and when I tell y'all I got a chance to read this, this is Not Without Laughter by Langston Hughes. And I was not expecting, like, of course I had expectations of, like, I know this would be, the title was like, this felt like something that I would enjoy. And when I tell you, this embodied the Black American experience in a way that was so genuine, authentic. This was set in 1910, and it went from a span from 1910 to, I believe, 1918. It was on a span of 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. And it follows Sandy, a young boy. In my TBR, I thought Sandy was a girl, and it was actually a young boy, and his relationship with his grandmother, his family, and just him growing up as a young boy during this era. And just him, oh my God, when I tell you, this story was so beautiful. I was bawling at the end of this. Like, I was crying. I never felt so inspired after reading a book. It was like, and this is one of the things that I really enjoyed about the book. There was one conversation that was had, and many conversations had about race and things in that nature in the Black experience, but there was one conversation that was had, and it really showcased how all of these Black people that lived under one roof, they had different opinions about how they felt about Blackness or their relationship dynamic between white people. And it was different, and it was just very authentic. It was raw, and it was honest. And I was like, this is like a Black man wrote this. You know how, like, when you see films and books where you could be like, I can tell, like, they may have, like, took some stereotypes or just, like, took the perception of what they think Black people do or feel, or the things that, you know, like, it's just like an anecdotic kind of like perception of like what I think Black people would do. No, this, and the sad part about it, I was like, half of the stuff, some of the stuff I could really relate to, in a sense of like, I'm going through this. And that's sad, because this was written, it was written in the 30s during the Harlem Renaissance, but it was set in 1910. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But also, it really let me know, like, I'm not crazy. Like, you're not, read this book, y'all. You're not crazy. Just read this book, especially when it came to like economic, like the economy and just different things. Oh my God. Like, and I just love Sandy. Oh my God. The aunt in this book, there's an aunt, her name is, I think her name is Aunt Tess. Woo, that chapter with Aunt Tess is a lot. Please read this book. Please read this book. And when I read this book, it made me think about some things about the Bluest eye. So I went ahead and reread it. I highly recommend, like, if you read a book when you were younger, rereading it at a different age will make you see things sometimes in a different light. I will never forget when I reread Their Eyes Are Watching God, and I was just like, oh my God, like the concept of what I thought like certain characters were before, and then after reading it, I was in my 30s when I read it. I was like, this is a mess. This is a mess. Is this love? Like, this is not love. Like, this is a mess, girl. But yes, The Bluest Eye. If you don't know what The Bluest Eye is about, girl, it is, I'm gonna say this. Disclaimer. No, no spoilers, but The Bluest Eye is not an easy read. This book was banned when it came out in schools and I think some libraries. It is a raw, honest story about how systematic racism affects, how it trickles down into the Black community and what that does, and an example of how that can affect each other, like how it affects us as Black people. And my God, it was not an easy story, but there were moments in Not Without Laughter that I thought about this book. I was like, oh, okay, like, and these are two different stories. But for some reason, it just made me, oh, it was the self-hate. It was the aunt. The one of the characters, the aunt in Not Without Laughter, I was like, this is the definition. This explains why this is happening. So in that book, it doesn't explain, but this whole entire book shows you why someone would react and be the way that they are, make decisions based on certain things, certain societal views, why they do the things. And I was just like, this, okay. So I do recommend, like, please, if you have not read The Bluest Eye, read this book first and then read The Bluest Eye. But yeah, this book, it actually, now, although the book kind of centers Pecola, like it's written from the perspective of a girl talking about Pecola, and we follow this story, but even though the story kind of focuses around Pecola, she isn't the narrator, which I liked. And I was like, that was actually smart. And Toni Morrison said, I could not make this book just about her, but it has a wide range of different characters in this book, but we mostly focus on like things about Pecola and telling where Pecola's father is from, things about her mother, things about the two sisters who meet Pecola for the first time. Like, you have to read it, and I'm trying not to say too many names or too many things because I just want you to read it. So this was written by Queen Toni Morrison, and this was her first novel, and I highly recommend it. Now, I'm telling y'all, this is not an easy read. It's a hard read. It's very raw, and it's a lot of stuff in this book that's ugly, but it's like the human experience. So yeah, The Bluest Eye, I highly recommend. Next up, oh my God, so this is Break Any Woman Down, by Dana Johnson, Dr. Dana Johnson. She is a professor at I think she's an associate professor, but either way, she's a professor at USC. And I have my reasons for why I sought out this book. I'm not gonna say it yet because, like, you know, you gotta keep it under wrap or whatever. Like, I just want to keep that. Yeah. So anyway, I read this book. It is a collection of essays, or sorry, it's a collection of short stories. When I tell you, y'all, read this book, there is one story in this book called Mouthful of Sorrows. When I tell you, I was weeping at the end of the story, and it's just about a woman telling a story about her childhood with her best friend, and it was a beautiful story. I break any woman down, that is a story in this book. And when I tell you, a great story, because, like, what is a nice guy? What is a nice guy? After you, if you read this short story in there, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, man. And I also like that all the, like, Dana Johnson is a Black author, but all of the stories in here, like, she has some stories that don't even have Black people. She's, like, very well ranged of, like, showcasing, like, other topics with different people, and, like, how they would handle this scenario. Like, I thought it was really, really good. So I highly, highly, highly recommend Break Any Woman Down, collection of essays. She also has 2 other books that I also purchased, and I like to get my books off of thriftbooks.com. And I purchased these off of there, and I got them for a great price. And yeah, like, I highly recommend doing that. Or I usually do there, or Black owned bookstores. Like, I haven't been to Barnes and Nobles shopping in a long time. I'm trying to, like, be ethical with my spending and recycling or stuff like that. Go to the library. But, like, I like to keep my stuff, and I like to, like, write in my books. Like, I don't know if you can see, like, I like to write in my books. So yeah, that's why I don't really like to do the library, because I want to, like, write stuff down. But do what you need to do, girl. But yeah, but she has 2 other books that I haven't read yet, but I am dying to read because she's such a great author. So yeah, Break Any Woman Down. Yo, going back to, like, Not Without Laughter and The Bluest Eye, I did not reread this book. I read this book a few years ago when it came out. Heavy. This is what I'm gonna tell you to do. Read this book, right? Because I don't know why, but when I read this book, it reminded me of The Bluest Eye. And then when I read this book, Heavy, when I read this book, Heavy, some of that reminded me of The Bluest Eye for some reason. Like, not the maybe, like, why things are the way they are, or why this is happening. It reminded me of all 3 of these books. Like, I can see some things. Oh, you know what it is? There was scenes, you know what it is? All 3 of these books has a moment where it talks about Black shame. And it does it so well. That's why I say, that's why they remind me of, they all have a scene in the books. Now, Heavy is a memoir, so it's not fictional. This is, like, based off of his life. And there's moments, like, in Heavy, I'll just give this little tidbit. There was a moment where he was in a grocery store, and he talks about this in interviews. He was in a grocery store with his mother, and basically the mom had wrote a check prior, and the check bounced. So she was on the list of, like her picture was up and everything. Like, I don't know if you know, back in the day, like, they would put your picture up the same way how they do, like, when people maybe, like, steal something or whatever like that. They'll put your picture up, like, if you're like a check bounce. A lot of times now, places don't really take checks like that. And where people aren't really writing checks to pay for things, they're mostly just, you know, using their card or paying cash. His mom, she wanted to write a check for the groceries. The lady was like, no, you're on the list, with her picture up. And she had to leave with no groceries. And he was ashamed about that. And I just felt so bad. Oh my God. Like, and then, oh my God, you know why that also reminds me? It rem child. His mother was a professor. Like it, y'all read this book. Yeah. Oh, child. And then there's two scenes in this book that remind me also, that talks about black shame, that deals with a child, a son, and a daughter watching something that has to do with their work and being belittled in a way. And it reminded me of this scene. Even though she wasn't belittled at work, it was more so she was at the grocery store, and then how she was treated because of the check. Like, oh my God, it's just like those things kind of went together. So that was that. I'm gonna try to make this quick, y'all. So I'm reading plays because I'm like working on some stuff and I need some inspiration. Woo! The Color Museum. Trying to not get the glare. The Color Museum by George C. Wolfe. If you have not read this play, please read this play. I am going to link a video of, like, PBS did like a made for TV film version of the play. Loretta Devine is in it. So many other people is in the play as well. It is so good. But when I tell you, it's nothing like reading a book or reading a play. Read this play. When I tell you the stories, it does black sarcasm in a very great way, where it talks about social justice commentary. It is so good, y'all. So good. But I do recommend checking out the film, the made for TV film. I'm gonna link it below. It's on YouTube. It was put up by The Real Black. I think that's what it's called. I love that channel. They always have like old school black movies and documentaries and music videos and stuff. So I highly recommend. Like, George C. Wolfe, can you please bring back this play and like come to Los Angeles, because this was so good. This was so good. Like, so good. So good. Ooh, so good. These are some other things that I am reading right now, and I want to just like show. This is 9 plays by black women, and it's very thick. I got this from thriftbooks.com, and I'm just reading, like, it's some really good plays in here. Which play is I'm on right now? Oh, I'm reading Spell. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't. Anyway, I'm reading Spell number 7. It's written by, I don't want to butcher her name, but it's the same woman who wrote For Color Girls, the original play. It's by the same playwright. Also, I read some plays. Oh, this one was the first play that I read. A Black Woman Speaks. I don't know if you can see that, but it was more so like a one-woman show, and it was really good. And it's just so crazy how like a lot of the things that are written in these things that was written years ago, is like it's still relevant today. It's crazy. So I do highly recommend, like, if you want to read plays, like, I need some inspiration for me. I'm writing a play, so I have been reading that. Also, I'm currently reading this too, August Wilson's Gem of the Ocean, which is like very spiritual. um Aunt Esther, the lead character, she's like a elder matriarchy woman in the community, that she has a gift where she's able to see visions in her dreams, and she's a spiritual leader, and Barlow he needs some help. So I'm in the mix of like discovering like what is exactly do he need help with, and we kind of follow them on this journey. There's other characters as well, but I'm excited to like finish this. So I'm just in the beginning. I'm on chapter, sorry, page I'm on page 18. So in the early stages. Also, last book is Blacks by Gwendolyn Brooks. And this is a collection of stories as well, similar to how Dr. Dana Johnson did her selected essays of short stories. This is also a collection of short stories that kind of intertwine some of the characters. Dr. Johnson did the same thing a little bit in like one or two stories. She did the same thing. But this is really good. It's not necessarily, there are some poems in here as well. So there's poems and then also short stories. So I think this is like just Gwendolyn Brooks full collect, like a lot of her work in one capacity in one book. And I also purchased this at thriftbooks.com. So I highly recommend it. I got it for a great price because I think this is out of commission, out of publication. So yeah, if you're trying to find something that might not be in publication right now, highly recommend thriftbooks.com. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying this, getting some inspiration from some of the poetry and then also the stories as well. So now let's get to entertainment. So I'll talk about Blitz another time, by Steve McQueen, but I want to talk about or at least recommend Diarra From Detroit. I watched Diarra From Detroit. The pilot episode is on YouTube, so I highly recommend checking it out because it is behind a paywall of BET Plus. I don't have BET Plus. I just went ahead, after I watched the pilot on YouTube, I went ahead and bought the series off of Amazon Prime. So I highly recommend checking out Diarra From Detroit. I am very late to this show, but it is hilarious. Like, it really felt raw and authentic. Like the jargon, it's just like the narrate, like it was just so good, y'all. And none of the characters felt cheesy or like stereotypical. And I'm just like, I really hope this show gets picked up for another season, or it does well. And I really hope that it really helps BET to get back on. Because I'm not going to lie, when I saw BET, I was like, what's this about? And it's really good. And I like, y'all don't understand. Like, as me, someone who is striving to write in the entertainment industry and just work general in the entertainment industry, and seeing like how hard it is to really get like good authentic stuff done. And it's really because the people that are in control, they don't get it. That is ultimately why I've literally seen some things and I'm just like, and then this is why the same things are recycled. So it's, I don't know, y'all. Like, I'm really hoping, like, I know Kenya Barris was one of the EPs, I think, or executive producers for this. Like, more stuff like this needs to come out. And it doesn't have to be just like this. When I'm saying, like, this is different. It's a black woman who is moving as a detective, but like in a funny way where she doesn't know what she's doing, but she's just like being her silly self. She's going through a divorce. She's dramatic and like obsessed with like something that's going on in her life, and to distract herself from her reality, she has shifted into like freaking Madlock. Like, it's just like, oh my goodness, it's so good. And it just showed like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, like so good, so good. Oh, so I went to go see Exhibiting Forgiveness. It wasn't at the typical theater because it is an indie film, so it's not going to be at every single theater. So the theater I usually go to, it was not there. I went to a different location. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell y'all, I went to the Culver City Mall, to the AMC there. Everything's cool. I got my nachos. I'm about to watch this movie. It's not a lot of people in the theater. They started playing trailers. This gentleman came in while the trailers was coming on. Bonhoeffer, I think that's what it's called. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. It's about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and it's set, of course, in Germany during Hitler's reign, and it focused like a lot of like what went on during this era. So of course, naturally and horribly, you know, in the film we're going to see Hitler do the Nazi salute. Well, he did the Nazi salute, and this man did the salute back at the screen. So I left the theater. I did not feel safe because I don't, if you're crazy enough to do that, I don't know what you would do. So I didn't watch the movie that day, but a week later I went to go see it at a completely different theater. And y'all, it's just getting really weird out here, so just please be careful. Like, it's just too much going on. And I was just like, this film Exhibiting Forgiveness is a full black cast, and you would do that going to this film? Like, it just was very weird. I was like, yeah, I'm getting up out of here. So Exhibiting Forgiveness is about a young man who is a very successful painter. Well, he's an up and coming rising successful painter, and he is kind of forcibly reunited with his father, and his mother wants him to open up his heart and have forgiveness for him because she feels as though like he has changed. So we kind of go through this journey of him, you know, being conflicted about if he should allow his father back into his life, and just also like his world, seeing him in his relationship. He has a son, he's a wife, he's the complete opposite of his father. And also like there's a lot of other things that's going on in this film. I actually wrote an article about it. I will link it below. And it is an indie film. It was nominated for an award at Sundance Film Festival, and I think it won a few other awards. But this film was beautiful. It was heartbreaking, but it was also like the portraits. Oh my God, the portraits in this film. It was directed by Titus Kafar, who is an actual real painter. His paintings have been in the Met. Like, I remember seeing him on She's Gotta Have It, the Netflix TV series, when they went to the painting retreat, the artist retreat. I remember seeing him in there. So that was kind of like one of my introductions to him. But his paintings are beautiful. He does like, it's like Renaissance and something else, I forget. But yo, when I tell you, y'all, I highly recommend watching this film. If you can find it in a theater near you, please check it out. And this is another thing that I want to talk about. Like, this is the excuse of like, well, we don't have these films because people don't go to the theaters, or they don't support certain films or television series with black artists in it. And I'm trying to tell y'all, like, if we really don't support this type of entertainment, like I really believe like something is really put in place to like kind of elevate stuff that people hate watch. But then like you'll have like something like this, or like even We Grown Now is now on. Okay, sorry, my camera died. So just to really just, I want to say this last thing. If we don't support certain art that is of people that look like us, I really think that it's not gonna be a good look. There's gonna be a uprise in art that we tend to always criticize with negative commentary because everybody watches it, but nobody is watching the art that is actually really entertaining and has substance. And I don't have a problem with like watching and like, listen, there will be no Tyler Perry slander. I love Tyler Perry. Some of it I do think is very soap opera-ish, and I think he knows this. He knows what he's doing. So I'm saying like there's room for more. There's room for options. And right now, everything that is being elevated is like one certain thing. And I think that if we start to watch more content or watch more entertainment that is a range, like Diarra from Detroit, like Exhibiting Forgiveness, like Blitz, those are like what I just said. Those are 3 different films that had a black lead in it, and they're all completely different. And I just think that like we need to really step up and support these things if you can. I understand like sometimes, you know, especially in this economy, if you don't have money to go to the movies or whatever, like I understand that. But like we have to really support these things, because what is happening, I think, is that there's going to be an uprising, and then they're going to say, well, you guys don't watch this, and there's no point for us to make that. We're just going to make this because it does well. You get what I'm saying? Like that is where I think black entertainment is going, in a sense of like some executives, like they don't get it. Not all, but like some. So also I've finished watching Reasonable Doubt, which is another great example of like there's room. Actually, the Hulu Onyx has been doing a really good job, even though they did cancel the other black girl. But I think they canceled it because I don't think people watched it. And I think like we had to leave room for it to grow. The second season would have been, I like what I saw in the final season of like, let me see where this will go. And I just like that it was a different story, y'all. Like we have to give this stuff a shot so that we can get more things that's not the same. So that is my plea. So like please watch content or entertainment of people that look like you, because it is about to get really weird. And I think that less and less shows are gonna, I think this is what's gonna happen, where they're gonna say, well, this it doesn't do well, so we don't feel the need to make this stuff, vice versa. And then also Poppa House just aired on CBS. Shameless plug, because I just wrapped up my position at CBS. But yeah, Poppa House, the first episode, the pilot episode, was really good. It is on YouTube. If you don't have live TV or don't have like live Hulu or whatever, you can watch it on YouTube. They're allowing you to see the pilots of these shows on YouTube, which I think is a great thing to do. And then you could go from there to see if you want to like subscribe or whatever. You can watch it on Paramount Plus too as well. But yeah, like that's my plea. Also, another thing, I just want to share this to anybody out there that, let's say you want to work in one field and you don't feel like it's kind of going the way that you want, but you need to still pay your bills and work or whatever. I'm gonna give an example. Let's say you want to work in the fashion industry. There's things you want to do, and you just want to work there, and then like have your job be the main focus. But right now you're working in a law firm or whatever as a assistant. Do what you need to do to get it done. I'm giving this example because like I've had this epiphany recently where it's like it gotta get done. You know the goal that you have, so do what you need to do. If you have to work at that law firm to do what you need to do, and then on the side or keep applying for whatever, or if you know you want to be a designer or whatever, do what you need to do and put the hustle in to get to that. Sometimes it might not even come in the form of working a 9 to 5, working here to get into your industry, or the traditional way. I don't want to say the 9 to 5. It might not come the traditional way. And I just recently have been hit with a situation where like an amazing opportunity has come my way, but I was so focused of like, well, I want it to be the traditional way. And it's like, maybe it's not going to be the traditional way. Do what you need to do and still get to the goal. So if the goal is on the side, independently doing what you need to do what you need to do and focus on the goal on the side. So that's just like, I'm talking to myself and I'm also talking to y'all. So I hope that analogy made sense, but do what you need to do and get to the goal. So that's the message. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Please comment, like, subscribe. Also, thank you to all of the new subscribers. I really appreciate y'all, and the OGs that have been here. I'm going to try to be more persistent. It's just that like this is not fully a full fashion channel, and I really am trying to find like the lane of like what I want to post. And right now it's just like whatever I'm interested in, I'm just going to come up on here and share with y'all, or whatever I found that I like and I want to share with y'all. Y'all my homegirls and homeboys and non-binary folks that I'll share with y'all. So yeah, thank you again. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.